After talking about all the classes S, M, and L, we're now advancing to the biggest ships in X4 Foundation's XL class ships. Because the last video that I did about the L class ships was just really good visually, we're going to do it the exact same way by giving you all the details on screen, and we're moving in between those ships and talking about who is the best. And we're moving in directly and starting with the auxiliary ships. Auxiliary ships do have a very specific purpose. They have the purpose of just simply flying with your fleet and supplying that fleet. Sometimes they can add up to the defense of that fleet, but most of the times it's just a way to either repair your ships or resupply your ships and have that ship as a basically flying station where you can also assign traders. I do have talked about all of that in my fleet composition video, which you really want to check out if you want to know how auxiliary ships work. But here we are focusing on ships that are good as a sidekick in our fleet and what they can offer. And we're starting, as always, with the charts. And we're taking a look at the entire charts that you can see right now. And we're starting with the most tankiest ship being here, the Boron choice, back to Boron glory. With the most hull and the most shield points, the Orca stands out in this category by far, especially with its shield power. This thing will not get shot down. With its shield power and its recharge rate of 2000 megawatts per second, this is great because you need to face an enemy first that does 2000 megawatts of damage to get your shields down. This is great. Really good option. And on top of that, the Orca also gives you the most average turret output with 390 megawatts, which means it can also defend itself even if it's like a little bit behind the fleet. And you don't need to think about it too much because it's capable of at least defending itself against smaller fighters. On top of that, it's mediocre speed with a 69. Nice speed. It's okay, but travel speed is almost the highest with just really short, just 40 short of the fastest, which is the Atlas Sentinel. We're going to talk about that. But I just wrote it in here already. It is instant, which means the Boron ships do not need a build-up time for travel. You hit travel speed and they are starting to accelerate. The acceleration is not that good, it's not the best, but it's definitely going to speed up. On top of that, another noticeable mention for the Orca, I'm talking a lot about the Orca right now, is also the container storage with 40,000 cubic meters, which is great because, as I said, your ship will need to resupply the fleet and therefore will need to have some wares inside so that it can produce like missiles or satellites or mines or something like that, or laser towers. So you will need to have a little bit of container storage in order to produce this stuff on that ship. Let's talk about then in an alphabetical order so that we do not get confused. We're starting with Atlas E. Atlas E, mediocre in all the first stats, so shield and hull, pretty average. Also, firepower is like the lowest, but that is just the case because we're looking at only M-class turrets, and you can actually even see how many M-class turrets there are on every single ship, because every single M-class turret will add in this list 8 megawatts of output. That means the Atlas E comes with 4 M-class turrets, and the Atlas Sentinel also with 4, and the Honshu, for example, comes with 8. So the Atlas E has got a good speed. It's actually one of the more faster one, almost as fast as the Orca, although it's not instant, but it's also pretty fine. And a mediocre container storage. So far, if you have one, it's okay, but I wouldn't prefer it. Next one, Atlas Sentinel. Basically the same as the Atlas E, a tiny bit faster, a tiny bit more container storage. Actually, the better option above the Atlas E. It just looks a little bit worse, that's it. but everything else is just in favor of the Atlas Sentinel. Next one, Honshu. Honshu is maybe, I would say, the worst option in this entire list, with the least hit points overall. If you count everything together, it has got the least, just above 300k. But it's still 300k, so that's okay. But the recharge rate, for example, is like only 840, so enemies will have an easier time shooting your shields down. It is the slowest, which makes it the worst option for a fleet to fly with your fleet. It will either stay behind a lot, or it will slow down your entire fleet because everyone has to wait on your Honshu. It has got the highest container storage, but that doesn't really change anything that I just said. You don't need that much container storage. That's the next point, you know. Somewhere between 30k, so basically every single ship in here is okay in container storage size. Even the smallest one, which is the Monitor, has got 29,000 container storage. Even that is okay for an auxiliary ship. So you don't need to think about the container storage too much. What you really want to think about is speed and survivability. And the Monitor is the next worst thing in here, because it does not have that much survivability. And like I said, container storage, it is the least. It doesn't really matter that much. It's fairly fast, that's fine, but then you have better options, like for example the Atlas versions. The Nomad Sentinel is middle with everything. Middle speed, middle survivability. If you have one, good. I would not aim for it. Orca, we already talked about that. Let's go to the next one really quick. The Stork Sentinel. Survivability, mediocre. Speed is fine, it's okay. Actually, it has got the highest acceleration, so maybe even that's a plus in this list. But overall, which one is the best auxiliary ship in this list? It's the Boron option. The Orca is really the best because the turret output is great, because hull and shield points are immense, more than 600,000. That is just great. The instant travel speed is great. Container storage 40k, like I said, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But I would say the instant travel speed will definitely benefit your fleet, because an auxiliary ship is usually either a stationary object or something that flies with your fleet together. So I still think the Orca is the best survivability, best speed. If you want a second place, I would go with the Atlas versions. Basically, both Atlas versions are fine. And then third place, Nomad and Stork. And the worst, Honshu and Monitor. I'm sorry, but those things are not really good. Moving on to a very interesting class, the XL and L class carriers. You already see at this list that the last one has got a frame, a green frame. That's the Guppy. The Guppy is an L class carrier. And I wanted to put it in here into this list because we need to see how it compares to all the other carriers, because it's just the smallest and therefore has got some advantages and also disadvantages. Before we talk about the Guppy, let's put all the other carriers into perspective. I would like to go through them again alphabetically. We're starting with the Colossus Sentinel. Again, here, Sentinel and Vanguard versions. Vanguard versions are not on the list. The Colossus Sentinel has got an okay survivability with more than 700,000k points. But there are ships on the list which have more, so that's why I'm saying only 700k. But of course, it's a capital ship, it's an XL class ship. The carriers should be the biggest ships, actually even bigger than the battleships, because you have like those landing spots on board, and that should make those ships better. What we're going to see in this entire list is that not a single carrier has got weapons, forward-facing weapons. So that's why burst weapon and sustained weapon output is always 0. The Colossus has got a good shield range with 480,000, with a good recharge rate, 2,500. This is really, really good. Very good survivability. The speed is not mediocre. It's a little bit underneath middle. So speed is, I would say, on the slower side in this list. Container storage doesn't mean that much. Every single one has got enough. So the same as with auxiliary ships, you don't really need to fill that thing up entirely with all the stuff. You will have a long time. You will need a long time before you run out of stuff, even if your ships are running with missiles and you have like all the stuff that is necessary for resupplying with missiles. You are not running dry that fast. The Colossus has got one advantage. It has got the highest amount of M-class docks. So you have 4 ships that can land on this ship. And if you saw my, again, fleet composition video, you know that one M-class dock can have a gunship on board on it. And the turrets on top of that gunship will be shooting with the carrier they're staying on if they're activated and set to attack any target or whatsoever. So you have additional turrets on board, which is very nice. So that's why 4 M-class docks is actually really a advantage here. The Condor Sentinel is middle. It's mediocre turret output. It's a little bit lower survivability. Also with recharge rate, a really interesting thing here is recharge rate, especially for those carriers, because that will also tell you like how far can you send that carrier into a fight, especially when you are getting attacked by fighters. So how many fighters does it need to shoot down that carrier? And the higher the recharge rate for your main shields is, the higher the survivability and the more smaller ships it can hold off, and also be a target for those small ships while your interceptors or while your fighters around you, I mean, it's a carrier, so the other ships around you are targeting those smaller targets. So this is really nice to have a good survivable carrier in your fleet. Condor Sentinel, middle. I wouldn't prefer it over anything. Next part, Raptor. Raptor is a difficult spot. Oh, that's really difficult. And I want to try to tell you what makes it so difficult. The Raptor has got the highest hull points of all carriers. Hull points is always a thing, you know. You need to repair that. If you have a auxiliary ship in your fleet, that's fine. You can go down with hull points and repair this for free at your auxiliary ship. It will take some time, but it is for free because your auxiliary ships are repairing for free, actually. The problem are the shields, the Raptor shields, with only 160,000 and the really low recharge rate with just 820. So it can happen way faster that the Raptor is going down with its hull points. What's better is definitely the average turret output. Why that? Because the Raptor is the only, well, not the only one, but it is the only ship with a viable option of L-class turrets on board. There are others that do have 1 or 2 L-class turrets on board, but the Raptor has got the most, and you could say that the Raptor is even capable of defending itself against, let's say, for example, a Xenon K, one Xenon K. Let's just be clear here. It's not something that you can try to take out stations with, but it's definitely an option to have near a station, to have some extra firepower to use those L-class turrets as, for example, with plasma cannons and shooting that thing at stations. I did that already. I had destroyers attacking a station, and then I had a Raptor around, and I had the Raptor as close so that the Raptor was also shooting at the stations, just so you have some extra additional damage output. That's great. Speed is not that high. It's okay. It's not the slowest, but it's on the slower side. The best thing about the Raptor is definitely the average turret output. And on top of that, the number of S-class docks with 21. 21 S-class docks is perfect for an attack carrier where you can deploy your fighters as fast as possible. This makes it also a great option to resupply your ships and or repair them at the same time, because so many ships can dock at the same time. Next one on that list is the Shark. The Shark is, again, a very special ship. And this here is like the absolute most best survivable L-class carrier, XL class carrier that we got in the game. Actually, it has got the highest shield points in the entire game, or the highest hit points in the entire game, with having more than 1.1 million if it's fully loaded. And especially the 800k shield points are great, with a recharge rate of 3,350. It has got a good turret output with a 500, so it can also contribute to a fight with some fighters. It has got a very good travel speed, and here again, instantaneous with almost the highest acceleration makes that ship a fantastic option. And on top of that, as if that's not enough, it has got the highest container storage, so it can also resupply your ships very fast. It only has got 16 S-class docks, but it has got 4 M-class docks, just like the other with the highest option. So you do have the option to have a lot of M-class ships and a lot of S-class ships. 16 is really nice. And on top of that, the Shark has got this very cool new feature of that boron carriers, where the ships land outside on a virtual landing pad and then get dragged into the ship. So that's really great and very, very fast. I would argue that it's way faster than the Raptor. Next one, the Tokyo. The Tokyo, with a good survivability, again with almost 700k hit points in total, shield and hull, with a very good recharge rate of your shields, 2,500. Again, very, very good in a fight. It's lacking average turret output. It does not have a single L-class turret. A total of 14 M-class turrets placed around the ship, around the entire ship, so they are placed good, but it's not that much damage that they're putting out. It is the slowest, not only in usual speed, but also in travel speed. It is the slowest that can slow down your entire operation. So I would argue that that's a really negative point for the Tokyo. It has got 18 S-class docks, but only a single M-class dock, which is weird and makes it a bad option. Oh, the Raptor, by the way, does also only have one M-class dock. So Raptor and Tokyo in this regard are the same. S-class docks, the Tokyo is a little bit lower than the Raptor. But here, it's about the same time as the Raptor from deploying those fleets. It will maybe take a little bit more time. I heard people are satisfied with how fast the Tokyo can deploy a fleet. So that's quite good, but I guess it's because Raptor and Tokyo are sharing the same feature, where the ships can just simply fly out to the front and be in a fight very, very fast. Next one, Zeus E and Zeus Sentinel. I'm talking about those two ships at the same time. Survivability is basically the same. It's okay, nothing really special. Average group shields are the lowest. They do have at least one L-class turret, both of them. That's not really much, but it's okay. Not really expecting this to be a offensive ship. The speed is, with both options, pretty good, though the Zeus E is way faster. It's like it's a very, very fast capital ship with a travel speed of 6,000 with a very good acceleration. So that's a very good option if you want to move your fleet from A to B really fast. Container storage is fine. Number of M docks, both Zeus versions with 4 M-class docks, really good, but lacking in number of S docks. And I would say, especially those carriers, like the Colossus, the Condor, the Zeus, and the Zeus E, all of these options are basically not suited for landing your ships on that carrier and then bringing the entire fleet on that carrier into battle and deploying them. It's more like you want that carrier as a base of operation, but you take all your fighters with you at the outside, so they are wingman basically. And whenever they need resupply or they need repairs, they're going back to the carrier and landing there and resupplying and repairing. So that's what those 4 options are good for. And now on to the Guppy. And the Guppy is basically replacing all those 4 options that I was talking about right now. The Guppy comes with 8 S-class docks, and you have the fast deployment and fast landing of that Boron ship. Same as the Shark, with those virtual landing pads at the outside, and ships are getting dragged in, so that's really fast. And therefore the Guppy is maybe even the better choice for a base of operations. 8,000 container storage is not that much. It is pretty low, but it is enough to resupply with missiles at least for quite some time. And it's definitely enough to repair ships, because you don't need any container storage for repairing ships. So as a base of operation to use also the command that is completely unique to all these carriers. Also, again, I've talked about that in other videos. There is a command that's new since, I would need to lie, I don't know if it's 6.0 or before already, the position defense. So there's a new command that you can give only for carriers, and that's position defense. And the Guppy is the only L-class option that has got that position defense. So what ships are going to do at position defense is they're flying around the position that you want to defend, and whenever they are going to get damage or they need a resupply with rockets or whatsoever, they're going back to the carrier from which they got the command from. And therefore the Guppy is the perfect option for that. It is fast. It's not as fast as the Zeus E, which is kind of crazy, though it has got a higher travel speed, which is really nice, and way faster acceleration. Of course, it's lacking survivability. That's why I would not place it in any battle, even though the average turret output is higher than most other carriers. It's as high as the Shark. They're basically sharing the same turret layout, and that's why it's in this XL carrier list, to show you that the Colossus, the Condor, the Zeus E, and the Zeus Sentinel are actually not that good options for a carrier. Either you take the Guppy for the position defense and just use it as resupply and repair, or you want something that is aggressive, then you take the Raptor with a lot of turret output. So what's the best ship in this list? In my opinion, the best carrier, the best ship that is actually a carrier, is the Shark. That's my number 1 spot. Number 2 would be the Raptor, because it's a good carrier. It's a really good carrier. It lacks survivability, but it can add to the damage of your fleet, and also can deploy ships as an extra really fast. Number 3 would be shared between Tokyo and Guppy. Tokyo being a viable option for a carrier, though it's really slow, and Guppy is a viable option for a base to be able to use these commands that I was talking about. Zeus E, Zeus Sentinel, Colossus Sentinel, and Condor, and all the Vanguard versions on top of that are always the worst options against those other 4. I am not going to talk about the builders here in any kind of form. If you are looking out for a builder that you want for yourself, you're only looking for a builder that's fast, because that's the only thing that you need, fast builder. And there's only one option, the Heracles Vanguard. Heracles Vanguard is the fastest at 78 speed and 2700 travel speed when you are placing Terran travel engines on that thing. If you're going with Paranit travel engines, you can even get higher, up to 94 speed and 2900 travel speed, and that's like everything you need. Everything else is just unnecessary. More than 40 building drones is unnecessary. You want to have a few in extra, just because if some get shut down or whatsoever, but if you have 100 building drones, there is no difference in these builders. So we're moving on. And the last list here on screen is battleships. But why are there 4, you ask yourself maybe? Well, because we only have 2 battleships in the entire game that we can use as a player, not counting in the Xenon K and the Xenon I and whatever. Not counting those in, we only have 2 battleships, the Asgard and the Erlking. Erlking even being a completely unique ship. So we basically are left with the Asgard, and if you're playing the game without mods, the Asgard is not even buyable, but we need to build it ourselves. So battleships is really a difficult thing. That's why I want to compare that to the best options that we have as destroyers, just to show you if it is worth for you to have battleships in your fleet. I know a lot of you are especially new to this game. You're asking yourself, well, should I even do that? Like, is that worth the hassle, especially the Asgard, that you need to build yourself? You have need to have good reputation with the Terrans, and then you need to buy the freaking expensive blueprint, and then you need to buy all the other blueprints so that it even works with the main gun and whatsoever, everything in XL. So is that even worth it? Well, after this, I hope you can decide on your own. The Asgard here is the second highest, or is the ship with the second highest hit points overall, 922k, which is great. Especially the shield recharge rate and shield amount is great. It's not as high as the Shark, but you can say if the Shark gets shot down, an Asgard would be also getting shot down. So the Asgard, really high, good survivability, looks great. Of course, the most craziest thing for the Asgard is the burst weapon output, and that's just because of its gigantic crazy beam laser that it got with insta hit. But it only lasts like about a second or something, and then it needs a long time to recharge. Even though it needs a long time of recharge, the sustained weapon output, so if you let that thing cool down entirely, shoot it again, let it cool down, shoot it again, is 16,000 megawatts. This is almost triple as Rattlesnake or Sin. Of course, it's not that fast, but it's still faster than a lot of auxiliary and a lot of carriers, especially as a battleship, and especially that it's just like you fly from A to B. Basically, you fly from A to Station X, and then you shoot Station X, and that's what you do. You just stay there and shoot gigantic objects, or you shoot down a Xenon I or something. So it doesn't need to be that fast, because there are very limited targets where you fly to this anyway. Container storage and everything else is not really necessary. Yeah, we have 1,100 missiles, but who cares? Who's using missiles on an Asgard? And the cool thing is that even when you're not shooting your main gun, it still has got an average turret output of 2,770. And this one here is spec'd with L-class plasmas. But the story for the Erlking is different. The Erlking is a completely unique ship, like I said. It also has got unique turrets and unique weapons, and everything is unique on that thing. And with all its uniqueness, the Erlking is just at 662,000 hit points in total. But the strong argument for an Erlking are the turrets, because the turrets are extremely good. Although the average turret output is lower than on the Asgard, the turrets are all like Gatling guns, and they're hitting really good. They have a very good rotation speed. You are hitting especially smaller targets, S and M class ships, so fast, so good, so hard, that the Erlking is just it looks crazy. It looks like a tube that is shooting Gatling guns out into every direction. It's you just need to spin that thing and it would look just crazy. On top of that, the Erlking is really fast, really fast, and that's the absolute weirdness, because the Erlking is not only a good battleship compared to all the other battleships, but the Erlking is arguably the best, fastest trader you can get in the entire game. So if you want something to be built really fast and you have to haul a lot of wares, guess what? You're taking the Erlking and you're bringing in stuff with the Erlking, because 56,000 container storage compared to the largest L-class trader, which is the Incarcatura, you will see that the Incarcatura does not only have 54,000 container storage. So this is absolutely wild. The Ur King is just simply the best trader, the best ship against M and S class ships, and yeah, that's about it. It's very, very squishy though, with just 160k shield and also a bad recharge rate with 840. If you are engaging into a fight with another capital, you want to shoot that other capital as fast, as hard as you can. The burst and the sustained weapon output are not that high, even lower than the Rattlesnake and the Sin. That's why there is a frame there, so you can see that in one glimpse. But you count in the average turret output, we're off 2,500 into the sustained weapon output of almost 4k, and you are around the same damage of 6.5k. So it is comparable damage-wise with a Rattlesnake that is shooting a target directly. So yeah, there you have everything on one screen compared to Rattlesnake and Sin. So I again will give you all these charts as a download link. I will put them into the same folder that I put all the L-class stuff in. So maybe if you see this video as your first video, you haven't seen the all L-class video, then you will find all the L-class ship stats also in there, and you can download them and you can take a look at marked and unmarked. You can't really say which one is the best XL class battleship because Ur King is unique and Asgard is the only option that is out there which you can buy. You see the stats on screen. Is it worth it? I would say yes, if you can build it yourself, if you have the money, if you have like billions of credits and you don't really need to save anymore, then go for the Asgard and buy those blueprints. So thank you very much for watching and see you the next time. Bye bye.